Well, hi everybody, it's Melissa Webb, and today I just wanted to talk to you about how you might want to make the most of your planning for the second semester of your homeschool year. So, clearly, by taking just a little bit of time now, you can truly plan a semester that is going to be really valuable. And the best part is, honestly, it will reduce the stress and anxiety that you could potentially feel if you end up trying to fly by the seat of your pants. And I know because I've done both. I've done both. And I always just feel so much more rewarded when I've taken the time to plan out what we're going to be doing. So let's take a look and talk about what that could look like for you. Now, to start with, we want to do the easy things, right? That's like the everyday stuff that you know you're going to plug into your lesson plan book. There's going to be reading, and I have a list here. You can see that the reading, the writing, and the math, right? We all know that those are the critical pieces, and the reading that can be the independent reading or maybe a shared reading. Maybe you use an anthology book with a lot of stories in it. Maybe you're doing a novel unit, current events. Those are great reading ideas. And then you're going to have your writing parts, your whether that's journaling or maybe you're taking a writing class or doing some essay practice. Again, these can be things that you're already using textbooks for, and maybe you're midway through, so you're just going to continue moving on in those things. You could have part of your writing could be like a handwriting or a cursive book that you're using to work on penmanship. Even doing copy work, especially for younger children, it's really great getting them used to writing. This could include your grammar time, your vocabulary, and your spelling time. As far as math goes, it's another critical piece. These are things you should be doing every single day, even if you are kindergarten to 12th grade. Like these are just things that are really important. So again, same thing with math. You could be using your planning time and plugging in review work, things that you were working on before maybe you went on break. Do some warm-ups, math games, of course, in your math lessons too. So when I take a look at my second semester and I take out my lesson plan book and I look at, these daunting 5 months left to go in the school year, one, it can be stressful if I look at where I had hoped to be and maybe I'm not quite there yet because maybe math presented some stumbling blocks. So now I feel like I've got to make up a little bit. It's okay. It's all going to work out. It's going to be fine. But take a look at those textbooks. Try and plug in what you can where you left off. But where the real enjoyment's going to come from the second semester is to really get fun, engaging unit studies, specifically in the area of science and social studies, to incorporate some of those big three, right? The reading, the writing, and the math. But incorporate it in such a way that it's something that you're getting excited about because honestly, if you're excited, then your children are going to be excited. When you are coming up with some ideas for some unit studies, and I will help you with that, you want to always ask yourself, how is what I am choosing for my child going to benefit them as a learner, right? That's important. It's a really critical piece. So, one of the things that as a teacher, we refer to that as determining the objective. What's the objective of the lesson? What are the critical skills that are being taught or going to be learned? And at this time is something that we did a lot in college. We used Bloom's taxonomy as like our framework for teaching, and I think I even threw a slide on here. This is Bloom's taxonomy, which you may or may not be familiar with. If you're not familiar with it, give me a few minutes here, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about it. If this is something that after I do talk a little bit about it, you're intrigued or interested or would like to know more, you feel like this would make you a better teacher, you can comment down below or shoot me an email and let me know this is something you'd like to know a little bit more about, and I could certainly and happily spend more time. But just as a brief overview, a gentleman by the name of Benjamin Bloom, gosh, in the mid 1950s, I want to say, created this pyramid of learning where basically the foundational skills are like your recall facts, your basic concepts, right? That's just remembering something that you learned. And the whole point is that as a teacher, we need that foundation piece, right? You're going to give information so that students can learn and then recall that information. It's a critical point, but we don't want to stop there. The goal is to move up, right? The goal in life is we want to make it to the top. So it's the same thing in Bloom's taxonomy. You're looking at learning as starting as a base. You're going to give some information, they're going to be able to recall it, basic understanding, but then you're going to move up into understanding, then applying, then analyzing, evaluating, and ultimately creating, which is where you're actually producing as a student new and original work, owning it, making it your own. And you can't just jump into that like with anything. You've got to build, and that's why it's a pyramid, because you're building up. But I like to make sure that all of my homeschool moms understand, because many of them do not have teaching credentials, but there are many things that I can tell you that are valuable that I learned that I'm happy to share with you, and you can certainly find out more about them. But one of the things that I do when I am planning out my lesson plan, whether it was for my own child or a classroom of children, is I make sure that I am drawing from all the levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And I'm being just very cognizant that I am not sticking at the bottom level, but that I am pushing them and challenging them to grow and connect to what they're learning at a higher level. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind too. So you want to get inspired, obviously. First thing you want to do second semester. If you are kind of tired at the end of first semester, I totally understand that. It's time to get rejuvenated. And we have so many online resources available in this day and age, whether you choose Teachers Pay Teachers or go to Pinterest or search on Google. Right now, we've got the Winter Olympics coming up. So there's a lot from which to choose to really engage your learners and get them excited and get you excited in this second semester. Okay, so personally, I'm really excited about the Winter Olympics. So I'm going to go that direction and see if I can't excite you a little bit too. And again, if this is something you're like, tell me more, I want more ideas on that, I'm here for you. I am just an email away. If you need help or support, happy to share it with you. Again, teachers have said it for years and years and years. Let's not recreate the wheel. Let's use ideas from one another. Let's get inspired from one another. Let's find things that work, share that with others. I'm a really big fan on community over competition. Nobody needs to be the best. We all just need to do our best and try our best. Does that make sense? So I'm all about community, and if I can be one of your inspirations, that's great. I'd be happy to. Okay, so one of the things I would recommend that you do as you get ready for the second semester is you want to take a look at the big ideas, the big plans that you want to cover. And I always leave them pretty loosey-goosey in the beginning, and then I tighten it in as the weeks roll on. I've actually done it where I planned out, I've done this a couple times. One time I thought I had to, and I planned out an entire year. And it was really unfortunate because as life unfolds, it just didn't pan out. Like we wanted to go different directions because things came up. And there's just no way you can project what's going to happen for a whole year. But I thought maybe I just did something wrong. So in my second year of classroom traditional teaching, I tried it again. I tried planning out my entire year in first grade. In first grade, oh my goodness. And again, it didn't pan out. And that's when I learned that, nah, that's not what it's about. That's just stressful. Because at the end of the week, if I got sick or I got behind or we finished early, then it just threw everything off. So I personally prefer to just use kind of a loose sketch of what I want to be doing. And then as the week comes up, I narrow that in. But I do always start with a big idea. And I usually do unit studies that will last between 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to talk to you about how I would be incorporating the Winter Olympics into my history and my social studies. So let me show you what that big idea might look like. Here it is. Okay. And by the way, I will give you a link to the PDF form of these slides so that you don't have to listen to me again. You could just look at these slides to help you see what I did. Okay, so I'm going to tie in science and social studies. And what I did is in red, you'll see in red are all of the social studies components. And remember, social studies has all things to do with, yes, history, culture, right? And just truly the study of people, social skills, right? Social studies. So there's so much we could do. And so since we'd be starting in January, but the Winter Olympics do not begin until February 9th this year, then I know I've got a couple of weeks before they begin that I can give some background. So you'll see here that I wrote down, I'm going to go over the history of the Olympics. We're going to talk about Athens and just the beginning of the Greek Olympiads. But then obviously they did not have Winter Olympics at that time. And so when did the Winter Olympics come in? Well, we'll do a whole unit, a whole week's study on that. Then to tie in my science to also kind of go with this whole winter theme and the Olympics, I'm going to go ahead and do some STEAM activities. And you may remember that STEAM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, art, if you throw the A in there, art, and math. And there are so many great resources out there. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I'm going to be doing, in that week, I'm going to do a snowflakes STEAM activity that I found, a really cool thing on ice and snow, and salt, right? So that's kind of cool. That's going to actually lead into a whole thing on hockey and all things physics with that. And we're going to actually learn a little bit about what glaciology is, which is the study of ice glaciers and all things related. So in week 2, we're going to go into the geography of Asia, since the 2018 Olympics will be taking place in South Korea. It seems like a perfect thing to tie in some geography, even going into some of the social studies of Asian cultures. Back over to science, we're still going to tie that into the Winter Olympics by looking now at the physics of ice skating. Now, again, you could go so many directions with this, but this is just a rough outline. Like I said, this isn't what I would look at every week. This is going to give me the broad overview for the whole unit study, which is 4 to 6 weeks. And then each week I'm going to narrow that down so that this is, like I said, just kind of the rough draft. But you will see in yellow, I kind of wrote it vertically there. I put in some of those Bloom's taxonomy keywords that I use, and I write them down just to remember this is my focus. I don't want to just stay at the remember stage, right? I'm going to move up. But as you can imagine, if you look over there to the far left of my slide, we're going to be listing things, naming things, identifying things. And that is at the very basic part and piece because we're just learning the topic. So it is going to start there. But if you look at the very end of week 5, by the time we've been through this unit for 5 weeks, potentially a month and a half, it could take 6, but I've booked it out for 5. We'll see where it goes. But I've got evaluating and creating happening toward the end of those weeks. And that's really critical and important that I know that my students are being pushed and challenged to now take all these things they've learned over the span of time. And now they're going to actually design and create maybe a new or improved item or gear, like a sports gear, something of that sort, as well as we're going to talk about where the next Winter Olympics will be happening, and that will be in Beijing. So maybe they can talk about a new sport that could be invented for that Winter Olympics, or maybe propose different places or times of the year based on what they learn about the whole snow climate and cold weather. So you can kind of see where I'm going here, right? Okay, so next I'm going to do, I'm going to just take that first week just to kind of give you an idea of now what it would look like if I pop that into my lesson plans. Okay, so here's just a typical week's lesson plan. All right, I've got there Charlie's lessons, and this is January, 2018. I've got my dates up there, and if you take a look, I also have, language arts, math, science, everything is covered over here. I still have my basics. That language arts part where we talked about the reading and the writing, that falls in there. Math, I decided why not throw in a lesson on Roman numerals, because whenever you see the Olympics, it's often written in Roman numerals, signifying how many there have been. So I found a great activity, Roman numerals bingo. And so you can see I threw that in here. Um, I also mentioned in math, we're working on Khan Academy. We're going to be working on decimal place values. So I just kind of threw that in that I'd be working on that. You'll see that when you do a unit study, not everything can tie in just perfectly because you're still pulling from all of these different things. We happen to have started, or we're ready to start where the red fern grows. So we're still going to tie that in. But it would be great if I could come up with a novel or a short chapter book or maybe even some short stories. Definitely some current events would work well once we are underway and the Winter Olympics has started. You'll see here for science, I've put in the salt and ice activity, which I found on Teachers Pay Teachers. And then discovery education, I love, I love, I love. I do have a membership with that, as many of you do as well. And so there's the science textbook, and there are the history textbooks, and those are great. And so I've already saved different video segments or full videos. There's even podcasts now available on there. There's articles that we can read. They're going to tie into some of the social studies and some of the science pieces that I'm looking for. And so just by taking one unit at a time, I now feel really good. Like I've got 4 to 6 weeks somewhere in there. We'll kind of see how life pans out. I'm super excited about the Olympics now. One of my favorite things about teaching is that I'm constantly learning things that I think maybe I never even heard that before, or if I had, I completely forgot about it. But it's a fun way to keep your mind engaged. Once you're excited, your kids are going to be excited. And once you get these things laid out, you're going to go into your second semester feeling just alive and excited and ready to take on the rest of the school year. So don't get burnt out because you're halfway through. Get excited because you're halfway through. And don't forget, if you would like more encouragement, more ideas, I can share different things with you that have worked for me. I'm more than happy to do so. You can email me or find me at writeonwebb.com. And just know that you can. You can do this. You can make the second semester a great one. I know you can. So, right on. Let's go do it.